Hi and welcome everybody. My name is Adrian Beckingham, Mr. Beckingham or Quartermaster Beckingham to the children of Canary Wharf College Primary School. 4 afternoons a week I'm normally telling them stories and having adventures and adventure club and storytelling club as part of their extended day activity program, but not now. With lockdown, schools all closed, I've offered to tell some of these stories online, so thanks very much for joining. To all the kids from the school and anybody from anywhere else, thank you for joining. This story is called The King of the Things. It's a story that begins and ends in this land, the land where we are right now, where I live, the land of England. This story begins in a tiny little village. A village of small wooden houses. There's a school, there's a church, there's a village shop, a village bakery, and a big barn in the middle. Big, at least, for this little village. But all around that small village, there's an enormous forest that reaches its woody fingers in every direction. Now the strange thing is that the adults, the grown-ups who live in that village always tell the children, don't you dare go in the wood. When the children say, why not? Forests and woodlands are really cool. You can climb trees or find empty ones to climb inside. You can make rope swings to go swinging around from the branches of the trees, or you can get big pieces of flat stone to make footpaths across the rivers. Why can't we go in the forest, the kids will say. And the grown-ups, they'll always shake their heads and say, things live in there. The mums and dads and uncles and grandmas and grandpas say. What sort of things, ask the kids. We don't know what they look like, say the grown-ups. But what we do know is if you ever go inside our forest, you'll never come back. Boys and girls, would you go in the forest if your grown-up said something like that to you? Go in there, you'll never come back. Hands up if you would not go. Hands up if you would. That's what I thought. Well, no one had gone into the forest for such a long time, when one day in that little village, 2 tiny little baby boys were born. One was born in the biggest house in the village, way up high on a hill, looking down on everyone else. And the other baby boy was born in the smallest house in the village, on the very edge of the forest. The forest you can't go inside. Well, that mum and dad in the great big house on top of the hill, they looked at their little baby boy. He'd just been born and they said, oh look, he's got 10 little fingers and 10 little toes, 2 little ears and the cutest little nose. He's gorgeous, we so love him. That mum and dad in the little house on the very edge of the village beside the forest, they held their little baby and they said, oh, you've got 10 little fingers and 10 little toes, 2 little ears and a cute little nose. What's that bump there, right on your shoulder? And sure enough, that little baby born that day had a little bump on his shoulder. How big about if you've got the very tip of your finger, children, and you hold your fingers like that and you hold it so you've got a tiny little bump, just a tiny little bump, as small as you can make it. That's how big the bump on the shoulder was. But still it was there. Would you like a bump like that? It's not so bad, is it? And the mum and dad, they said, don't worry, as our little baby grows bigger into a boy, that bump will disappear. You'll hardly notice it because he'll grow so big and so fast. But they were wrong. He did grow big and he did grow fast, but so did the bump. That tiny little bump grew bigger than him. It became a great huge hump all the way up his back. It grew right out across his shoulder. He was a hunchback. And that hump made sure he could never stand up straight. That hump made sure he could never walk. Not without a walking stick to stop him falling over. Would you like a hump like that? Do you think those other children in the village school were nice or nasty to him when he was big enough to go? Hands up if you think those children were nice to him. Hands up if you think those children were mean. If your hand's up now, I'm afraid you're right. Those other children bullied him and called him names, and the biggest and the worst bully of all was the boy with the same birthday. The boy who lived in the great big house on the top of the hill. His name was Tax. He was the best at running and the best at swimming and the best at climbing trees. Tallest boy in their class. He gave the boy with the hunchback a name. Ha ha, said Tax. Let's call him Hunchy Boy. Hunch, hunch for hunchbacks. He can't forget who you are. Hunch didn't like his name, but it stuck.